This video will show you how to manually add students to your classroom. After the classroom has been created, and before any students have been added, you'll have this button right here underneath each classroom name that will prompt you to add students. You can click on Add Students, and it'll pull up all the available students that you have to pull into the class. You could simply search by last name and select the boxes next to the students' names and click Add. Once you've clicked, you will notice that the slot will then change, showing you that the students have been added to your roster. Aside from manually searching by student name, one of the quickest ways to create your class is to search by student IDs. A good idea would be to pull up an example like Aries or a class roster, to copy all of the student ID numbers and then to paste them in the Search by Student IDs field. You'll want to make sure that there are no spaces after the IDs and that each ID populates its own separate line. Once you have pasted all the ID numbers, you would click Search, and it would pull up all the students that correspond with those ID numbers. Click Select All, and then select Add Students to Class. You will notice that the slots now show that the students have been added to your roster. To verify, you can click on your gradebook and roster, and you will now see all the students that you have added to your class. The last final manual way that you can add students will be to click on Add Students and to import a roster. When you import a roster, it will allow you to duplicate a roster for a class that already exists. This is very helpful if, for instance, you are a KC teacher and you've already created a KC 380 math class, and say, for instance, you also need to enroll those same students in the KC 380 ELA program. To import roster, you would select Import. You would choose which of your classes you would like to pull the students in. You would select Search, and all students enrolled in that class would come up, and then you would also add those students to your class. You can see that all the students have now been added. The final way is to create a brand new student. To do so, you would type in the student's first name, their last name, a student ID number, and you'll want to make sure that ID number is unique to the school site. If the student already exists, you will be given an error message saying just that. Email address is not necessary. And you'll click Add Student. When you add a student in this fashion, the student's password and user IDs will be manually created by the system. I'm going to go ahead and select Add Student. It'll show you that I've now been added to the roster. You can then take your mouse and go to Gradebook and Roster. You can see all the students who've been added. Again, if students existed in other classrooms, it will pull in their work. These were students that I pulled in from an existing class roster. And again, for your new student, Nicole Smith, that you just created, if you want to see what this Nicole Smith's user IDs and passwords are, you would click on the Edit link, and it will now show you what the user ID was assigned. And again, it will never show the password, but know that whenever the Revolution K-12 program manually creates a student for you, their password is always set as their last name, all lowercase. And those are the different ways to manually add students to your class roster.